Hello there, and today I'm going to be showing my Harry Potter book collection. And the first one I'll show is the first book, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And this is the normal British cover, like the original one. You can tell it's not an early edition though because it has Dumbledore on the back. The earliest editions have a generic wizard. This is actually the second book that I bought, or had bought for me probably, when I was a kid. But an interesting thing with this is when I was at university I took a literature class and this was one of the books that we studied, so I got to take this childhood book into university for studies, and it was quite surreal talking in tutorial groups about a book that I'd read as a kid, talking about it very seriously, so that was quite strange. The next book I'm going to show is Chamber of Secrets, and this was the first one I actually owned. My mum got me it. I was probably about 8 or 9. And again, it's just the normal British cover, the children's edition cover. Quite like the back art there. And then we have Prisoner of Azkaban. Again, normal British cover. Again, the back art is quite often nicer than the front art, I think, in these books. You can see that a lot of my books are faded at the side because they've been on my bookshelf for years. Faded with the sun. Next one is Goblet of Fire. I actually remember getting this when I was a kid. I hadn't finished reading the last one. But yeah, back art's not as good in this one, I don't think. It's very impressive. Dragon there in the front, obviously from the Triwizard Tournament. This is the first hardback I have. I remember getting this one as well, and this was probably the time I started getting them when they first came out, hence I have a hardback. That is really nice back art there. You can notice the fading a lot worse than this. I think it sticks out a bit further on the shelf, so the fading's happened a bit on the front. And obviously it has the dust cover, and underneath, it's intact, not sun damaged. Now for the sixth book, I'm sure I did have a children's cover version at some point, but I've lost it over the years. But on my shelf I have this adult cover version, British adult cover version. So it has, it's a different art, it's supposed to look more like an adult's book. And the back cover is more just a normal blurb with a little picture of the front cover art. For the seventh, I'm back to the normal children's covers, but also hardback in this one. Yeah, again, really nice back art. Love that one actually. You forget how nice back art is because you don't normally see it. Now, I'm now going to show you a couple of versions I have in other languages. The first one is The Philosopher's Stone in Scots, which was, I got that just in the last couple of years I think, and it's quite surreal to read a book, like a full book in Scots. I mean, you see Scots comic strips quite a lot, but reading a full book is quite unusual. The cover is just the same as the normal British version, except it has the label here telling you it's in Scots. So yeah, that's quite a good one, I like that. And next up I have the French version of Chamber of Secrets. This is because when I was at school and was at university, I studied French, and we never actually studied this book, but I bought it just to practice. And the cover's completely different from the British version. It has the American Harry Potter logo, but the art is completely different. And the back has just like a blurb and a bit of the front cover art. A little interesting note, if you're not familiar with French books, is that on the spine, like, it's upside down. It goes the other way, if you can read that. And they also have the table of contents at the back of the book for some reason. I'll just show it. There we go. I've never quite understood that, but there you go. And the last book I'm going to show you is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. This is the original version of that, and it's got all the doodles and stuff. I think maybe some of the later editions don't, and the later editions I think add some more creatures from the Fantastic Beasts films. This was given to me by a friend. He had Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them and Quidditch Through the Ages, and he somehow ended up with a second copy of this, so he gave it to me. This was when I was a kid. So it's quite cool. It's quite cool to have the older one, which I think is made for Comic Relief, yeah. So, yeah, quite a cool book. And that brings me to the end of my collection, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.